Everyone, good morning, everyone, once again. My name is Sandeep. I'm hosting this book club session for today. Um, Before we start our session, I would like to explain about the one of the important person uh, who is uh, who is our the guest of for this book club session. So his name is Praveen Kumar Maheshwari. So we call him as Praveen. So I know him, Praveen, for almost 8 years now. So we used to work in the same company. I know him very well. So he's an IT professional, works as a BA for one of the investment banking company in Edinburgh, Scotland. Um, so he got very good experience of meditation. He's been doing meditation for last 2 years and reading a lot of books, and he practice a regular practice of yoga, and he do a lot of service work across Edinburgh with his wife and his two lovely kids. Um, so that's a small introduction about Praveen Kumar. Um, so I will introduce Praveen now. Praveen, hi Praveen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Thank
can
you.
hear you.
Thank you, Master Sandeep, for my introduction.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome to PMC UK Blue Cup session. Now you're free to talk. It's all yours now.
Thank you. So first of all, I will start with a very humble salutation to all the masters who are listening me today. And it is really my humble privilege that I have got from the masters and our Grandmaster Patriji, who has created such a beautiful platform, PMC. And through that PMC, we have so many good initiatives going on. And one of the great initiatives is sharing the knowledge through this book club. I would like to give a bit of a background that how I actually got in touch with this book. And none other than person, Master Sandeep again, who is my friend. He actually spoke about this book first time when I was looking for a number of questions, like any person, when we are in our early journey of enlightenment. A number of questions are good because that's where the curiosity which leads us through enlightenment. I also would like to thank Mr. Robert Swas, who is the author of this book. And I believe that he is one of the angel who has actually written the book to give the path to those who actually want to learn from the different experiences.
Uh, Sorry, Praveen. Sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is low. Can you adjust your voice, please?
One second. Is it getting better, Annie?
Oh, yes. Yes, better now.
Okay. So maybe I will raise a little bit now. So once again, before I go into the books, what exactly the book covers, I would like to give a little bit background about the Robert Swas. Robert Swas has been one of the hypnotherapists, and he, in his lifetime, has encountered a number of experiences which are really so great enlightenment if you really want to learn those perspectives of the life. The way I was looking my answers has every question which I had at that point of time, or I would say till today, are answered through that book. Now, it's amazing to say that because we have read so many books about our mythology, we have read so many books about other spiritual knowledges which we follow, but the way the rationality which has to be given, I found quite comprehensive understanding of all those puzzles, I would say, and those puzzles which were missing those dots have been well connected after reading this book. Let me just start with the small slides, and during the session, I will keep sharing the slides wherever I think that I need to remind myself which topic I have to cover. Second, I hope the screen share is started. This book, which is titled as Your Soul's Gift, is the second book which Robert has written, and from his previous book, which was Soul's Plan. Obviously, I have not read the first book, but when I read the blurb of this book, I found this book actually is an extension of what he has written previously, but he has very beautifully covered some additional aspects which were not that in depth dealt in the previous book. So there are just 3 points which I would like to highlight, where he talked about how this books differs from his first book. There is first of all, the third point which he says here, the pre-birth planning. Now, all of us who believe in the karmic cycle, all of us who believe in the reincarnation, so that's where our topic connects with us, is the pre-birth planning. We have a huge number of curiosity to find out why we are on earth. And that's what he has tried to explain in that book, which was Pre-Birth Planning, Your Soul's Plan. But even in this book, he has continued the same theme to explain those different experiences which we go through in our lifespan. The second thing he has talked about on the healing process. Now that's where I got a very good understanding of karmic life cycle, which is already we all are aware of, but he has given a slightly different dimensions to understand that karmic cycle. And you can connect all your questions related to the karma after reading this healing concept. The third thing which he has done in his book, which is not directly related with the healing, but he has actually covered certain aspects of why animals live with the human being. And that's what he has covered in the chapter which talks about pets. As well as he has talked about a little bit about the spiritual awakening, which is actually where we all are on the same path of journey. So with this understanding, I think it creates a good amount of curiosity for all the listeners today, that especially maybe you will have some more questions, which we will address at the end of the session. The purpose why I picked up this book was looking for certain questions, and the words which I'm putting here are all coming from the books. So again, as I said, each and every word which I'm going to show through the slides, everything coming from the books which I've read. So one of the things he talked about in his book, he has picked up a number of stories, and those are the life stories which he has interviewed himself in his profession and through his network. The beauty of those interviews was that he was able to connect with the higher dimensions of different world souls, which we can call as angels. And one of the angels which he has connected repeatedly in most of the interviews is actually the latest incarnation in the religion of Christianity, which we know as Jesus Christ. So you would be amazed to hear that he was able to connect with the soul, which was named as Jesus Christ when it was taken birth. And beautifully, they have actually answered most of the question which Robert has asked. When you go through all these stories, what actually the outcome of that story is actually what he talks about, the self-love. And the moment you get the self-love is what actually we are all missing in this journey. And he talks about that there's a lot of pain which we go through, but actually why we go through it and what is the purpose of that suffering. So he is very beautifully covered in that book. And one of the things which I was looking in my life as well, to get answer of those areas why we actually come on the earth. So that's what the first point which attracted me. The second thing which he talked about was something word called victim consciousness. I like the word actually victim consciousness because we all talk about consciousness. And when we talk about consciousness, we always think about the divinity. So how a divine consciousness, which is present in all of us, can be victim. And that's what he has explained as well, that there is nothing called victim consciousness. This is just one of the things which we have developed out of our mind. And we need to get rid of this to feel that consciousness, which is always present everywhere. The third thing he has talked about is about actually how you fast pace your journey of healing is only possible when you start forgiving those who have hurt you and create a lasting inner peace. So this is another bit which we will see in those stories, that how actually what type of the courage you require to forgive the people. It looks that hard, but actually it is much simpler than we think of. It just requires that dimension, which once you understand that dimension, then everything becomes so easily acceptable. The next thing which we are looking for is what is the reason why we go through, what is the outcome of those experiences. And one of the strongest outcome of those experiences is that you develop certain virtues, which is why you have actually decided as a soul to learn those experiences. Now, this is another thing. When the pandemic started, why actually I was get more involved in the spirituality, because I thought the way Corona and pandemic was portrayed, I thought that, okay, is this really going to be the end of the humanity or the world? then what should we be doing at the last moment? And I asked repeatedly this question to myself, and I got the answer that, so first of all, this is not the end, because this is everything which we think is the end is actually the beginning of another chapter. And that's what how I look at that. One of the most positive thing which has happened in my lifetime is actually the pandemic episode, which we are still going over through it. But each and every day of that pandemic, I actually beautifully enjoyed, because I actually got myself more time to explore those areas where I was stuck with. And I will come again on those once I go through this, the objectives of this book. One of the things which in the introduction of the chapter, he has talked about that those who are reading the books, what set of the mindset you require. Because sometimes what happens, we are already a kind of a matured personality who has got so many beliefs and faiths and life routine. So it becomes very hard for us to accept certain things which we have never experienced or nobody has told us. And the way he has beautifully explained that, if suppose you want to check the temperature of your body, and instead of taking thermometer, if you stand on the weighing machine, you won't get the right temperature. That's exactly what he has said. To understand what he is trying to explain through the book, the only instrument you require is actually your inner soul, your inner understanding, and what we call as a heart. Because heart is actually where you can say you talk to your soul, you are mostly connected with yourself. And the answers which he has given, you will only be able to accept when you listen to them with the open-minded. If you start putting any glass of lens, any lenses which you are already wearing, then you will not find the true picture of that answers, what he's trying to give. And that's exactly happens with any book or any story or anything we read in our life. In fact, whatever we know or whatever perception we always carry, that glare always obstructs all the messages which is given to us continuously from the cosmic world. So that's something which I really kind of got myself ready for, because it was not an easy. Because suppose if you are coming from a family who is also religious, who has followed different forms of spirituality, you really need that courage to accept that, okay, this dimension is also possible, which we have never thought of. The second thing which he mentioned about, and that directly connects with our understanding as well, that what is the process we are into? That the process we are into is basically we are in the process of manifestation of our previous karmas based on certain experiences which we had previously taken, or we want to explore more. And that's experience journey is always in cyclical nature. And that keeps going on, keeps going on. And I think what we learn from the meditation by doing our anapanasati is actually break that cycle, because we want to become a complete end, which is the merge ourselves with the oneness. And that is actually takes a long time, because we have already built so many experiences and we have to go through this cycle. The third thing which he talked about in the introduction, which I already explained to you, that he was able to connect with the angels, and one of the angel which himself named as a Christ consciousness, it has answered a lot of questions around why actually that consciousness is now emerging. And one of the things which in the book it also said that we are living in the world where the highest amount of awareness or awakening is happening at mass level, which is absolutely true. Because if you remember, when the first lockdown started, you look at any social media, everybody was talking about the spirituality. We look at so many branches of spirituality, and there was so much material, so many messages coming, and everybody was becoming, oh yes, now we have to calm down ourselves with this panic situation. And I must say, those hidden messages, those mass level prayers, and the messages which we were trying to give to ourselves actually worked. We came out much better than what it could have happened. With this introduction, I would like to go now start getting into the little bit in the books. But before we go on those different chapters, uh, Robert has actually put certain understanding of certain words, which we need to understand from his perspective. So he has talked about karma in a slightly different way, but the purpose, the meaning, outcome, the final meaning is the same. So he says that karma is usually understood as a cosmic debt, but what he believes is actually a kind of a lack of balanced experiences. Now, what it means? So what he says that everything we do has got two sides. Now, I would not name it as a good or bad. I would just say that if you look at a circle and you cut the circle in half, you will find kind of a half circle, which you can say two C's. If you have traveled one part of the circle, half circle, you won't complete your journey. You have to travel the another half, and then you say that you have made the full journey. And that's exactly what he thinks, that if you cover half of the circle, you still have not covered half, and that's what you want to cover. And that's why you go into that cycle of karma, where you have to keep repeating until you have completed that full circle. So that's what he has said is called as balancing the karma. But that's not here he ends. He says further beyond that. He says karma is always we keep doing because of our thoughts or whatever we are thinking every time. And that karma cycle has to be also released, which means I should not try to repeat the same karma again and again. So even you are balancing the karma, but you tend to go into the same cycle again and again. Now, how do you come out from that is what he says that is called the healing process or releasing the karma. And that's only possible when you actually understand the underlying root cause of why I'm doing the same pattern again and again. What is the actually underlying issues? And when you address that issue, you will find a lot of things which may create, a lot of fear or anger or bit of a hatredness about yourself. Now that's where the true part of this book comes. Because so many books I've read previously about the spirituality, they all mostly have talked about positive things, good experiences. People think that if I follow spirituality, I will be prosper, I will become wealthy, I will never have any negative things. But actually what he has said is all the negative things which are happening is actually taking us towards the positive outcome. So actually they are not negative. So who has labeled them negative and positive? It's just the human mind, is the way we look at the karma. The karma itself is neutral. Karma has no adjective assigned to it. With this understanding, he has also talked about why we tend to do the opposite side of the karma, even though we know. So suppose if you look at, like, for example, rich and poverty. If I am a rich, why would I like to go and become poor again? This is a very beautiful thing. And the way he has explained is by the concept called contrast. We learn only when we do the contrast things. So if I am a rich people and I want to understand how the pure poverty means, the better you become the poor, then only actually you get that feeling. And I will agree to it certain extent, because the real wisdom comes when you have experienced it. If you have not experienced something, you can talk at a very superficial level, or you can, you will not get you will not feel the in depth of that subject matter. And even take the example of, again, like in the current crisis we are going on. We are saying this crisis, but until this crisis come and hit us, we do not know the pain of that crisis. So that's what he has talked about in the karma understanding. The next thing where I would like to go, what happens when we are in the karma cycle? Whenever we suffer or experience anything, there's always a resistance. And that resistance is we have to understand why is it coming from. And there's a reason why it is coming from. And the underlying reason is that there's always an emotion attached to it. So that emotion could be of different negative points. So for example, fear and anger. And that's why, we always try to avoid any kind of negative things which are happening around us. The fact is that everything which exists with us is actually part of the same creator who has created everything. And means we should not have any adjective assigned to them. So once we understand the true nature of everything, the resistance automatically starts going down. You understand that actually there's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between, any color or any kind of thought process. It's all that we have come here for our own defined purpose, and we want to do it in our different ways. The next thing which relates to resistance is one thing more is also attached is emotion. And most of these emotions are actually coming from, there are already predefined judgments. Now, you must know that whenever we look, as I think we talked about the perception. So perception is very close to how we judge things. And that experience of judgment is very much coming how you look, how internal you think about yourself. And that's how we look at the things which is outside. So he has said that many times human mind is stuck in this judgment cycle. And we become so much judgmental that to break that judgmental mindset itself takes a lot of time. And he has said here that there will be a lot of resistance when you start breaking that judgment. So how to come out that cycle is what he has beautifully explained in the book. Okay, so the purpose of being resistance and having judgmental ultimately leads us to the victim consciousness. And what he has said, there is nothing called actually victim consciousness, but it's again a mind concept which we have created. And we think that if somebody has done this way, then this is going to happen this way. Or if somebody is not behaving or somebody is doing something wrong, then that's the outcome going to be. The fact is that the outcome of any karma is always dependent on how actually we have experienced that karma. So if I take a very small example here, suppose if I go and I drink alcohol. Now, if in my family, alcohol drinking has been proved as a taboo, and they say drinking alcohol is a bad. And because I have been hearing this from my childhood, I am resist, I don't usually drink. I have become judgmental, so I know that anybody who comes as a drinking or alcohol person, I will immediately say, oh, he's not a bad character. He might be having a bad character. And that's exactly what happens. One day, friends were celebrating my 40th birthday and they said, oh man, you have not experienced, let's experience this. And he has purposefully given me alcohol and I drank it. The moment I drink it, now I myself has become a victim consciousness because now I know I have drank it, I've become the bad person. People will start seeing me as an alcoholic and people will talk about me, giving me the same judgment. Now, this is the cycle which I have experienced myself and see how it has happened. Now, this cycle, which I have explained you with this story, is the brilliant example of victim consciousness. Now, if you really see, by drinking alcohol once in your lifetime doesn't make you bad. Do you think so? Many people may say yes, many people will say no, it's actually something you have celebrated. Now, what exactly was the purpose of drinking the alcohol? If you start going into that detail, you will see that yes, there was a group and the standard of the group of celebration was, if you drink it, you are part of that group celebration. So to give the happiness to others, if you have drink that one, what would be the purpose of that drinking? The challenge comes if you start drinking every day and then you say that I'm pleasing everybody, then that becomes a different type of karma altogether. But that karma which you participated at that point of the time with the group, maybe your soul wanted to celebrate in that way and that's why you accept it. And that's why that group forced you to actually experience it. Now, you must say that actually every choice we make is actually in our control. And that's very true, because that's what my next thing which is coming up is called free will. Let me just go to that point. Free will. So every karma, whichever we do, there's always a choice given to us. So in that group celebration, the choice given to me was drink the alcohol. But I always have the will to decide whether I want to go for that choice or not. And that free will decides what will be my next karma. So if I chose to drink, that was one path I decided, and I actually tasted that. So there could be two outcomes. I liked the taste or I didn't like the taste. If I like the taste, the tendency could be that I start doing it more regular basis. If I didn't like the taste, I will stop it there and I will know exactly what happens when somebody drinks and I didn't like the taste and probably it's not my experience to continue. The third option was that I could have offered them was, I will enjoy with you, but can you give me the fruit juice or maybe apple juice and I will cheers with you. So that would have been the third course which I would have taken and that would be my free will. In that situation, I might have said, yeah, I avoided myself being alcoholic, but I still persisted that concept of how to look at the alcoholic person. Because I've not drank, my judgment for the alcoholic still remains the same. But by experiencing myself, maybe my judgment might be changed, because I would have seen I didn't do anything wrong. I still was in my consciousness. I didn't behave anybody wrong. So then I would have changed my judgment to say that, okay, those who drink may not be always going to be the bad people. They will not be always behaving the wrong way, because it's completely up to you how much you drink and what is the outcome of that. Maybe I will change my this illustration a little bit later on. So with this free will, there comes now the next one, where what happens if I keep changing my free will, what exactly was part decided as a planning process? Because you might think that whatever I decided in my pre-birth planning, that can be anytime changed in my lifetime. The answer is yes, but actually the planning process doesn't say that you will exactly follow 100% the same thing. Planning process says at a very high level that these are the options you will be given in the lifetime, because the soul has decided to achieve certain experiences or certain goals for that lifetime. Now, for those achieving those goals, you have so many options, and you will be, when you are born, you will always have a choice to make. The first choice starts, what time I want to born. You might decide to born in, take birth in 18th century, 19th century, or the 21st century. You may decide to born in different planet altogether, or you will also be given a choice which lifetime, which life format you want to come. You may decide to born as a male or as a female, or maybe a combination of both, or maybe not at all human form, maybe as an animal form. So all these choices are given to the souls, and that soul decides to achieve those goals which I want to experience, what will be the good for me. Now, what will be the good for me? It doesn't matter which option you take, because ultimately the objective is to complete that cycle of experience and come to the point where you have completely released that karma experience. So that's how the pre-birth planning process has helped us and guide us when we are actually taking a human form. So if I have decided that I will born as a male, then the choices which were connected with that male form will start opening for me. And then within that, I have to decide now which family to take birth in, who will be my parents, and then also who will be my siblings, and all that comes in. I might decide that I might not be born in a family where I should have any siblings, because I want to born as a single child. So that could also be one of the option I can have at that point. And depending on that, the beauty of the planning process is that the soul level, Robert has talked about that there are different levels of souls. So he has said there is a physical body, which is always, soul is inside the physical body. The second is the soul level, where the physical body is not there when you leave your body and you are in the soul form. And the third level, which is the higher form of soul, which we call as a spirit level. And what he says that in the soul level, we also have a soul group, soul family, and soul community. Now, how it interlinks is that suppose you are born in a particular family, and as per the pre-birth planning, they all were members of your group at that point, because you agreed to somebody, can you be my mother? Can you be my father? Can you be my brother? So you all agreed, and that group actually comes in a particular time frame, and then they become the family. Now that family, when was born, they were born as a, let's say, a different faith other than Hindu. So that faith itself has been practiced by a huge number of families in the world. And that particular faith you can call as a soul community in itself. So basically you can see that how actually we all are interlinked at different levels. Now the question comes, if I'm linked to a one particular family or a community, can I become member of other family or community? Yes, very much. Because throughout the lifetime, you interact with so many different varieties of souls throughout your life. If you see, you will have your friends in every sect, in every faith, you will have friends in every caste, you will have friends in every country, you will have friends in different parts of the world. So this is how you actually interact and you learn, and throughout the life you choose what was the best experience for there, and you start deciding your next planning that, okay, I liked actually being, for example, let's say we all are now in Scotland, we actually like living here. So maybe next time when I'm born, maybe I could be the Scottish person, and I would like to explore the Scotland agriculture. So I might decide that I want to go and born as a Scottish farmer actually. So this is all is a continuous process of choices and deciding what I want to do next. This another part Robert has touched upon by when he was talking to the angel, that the world we live in has actually got the time dimension. So we have the past, present, and future. What I'm doing right now, I cannot go back and rewind the past, but what I'm doing here now will definitely have influence on the future karmas or future time which will come forward. There's another level, which is when we are at a soul level, non-physical body level. At that point, actually, um, we can completely live in all the time frame. That means there is no concept of past, present, future. You live in parallel terms. So you can cross-wind so many things. You can experience so many things together, which was very interesting actually. How actually he has put together. But we will see one of the stories, which I will ask, which one we want to talk about, and then we will see how actually he has explained that healing process. With this, the last point I want to talk about is actually the emotional independence. All these sufferings and all this karma cycle, one of the objectives we should always look at, and where we actually can make ourselves more uh, enlightened or more ready for the next level of enlightenment, is only when we work on emotional independence, which he has defined as looking to oneself as the primary source of one's well-being. So I think many masters have previously said that we are the only one who's responsible. We are the only one who's creator of our experiences. And we are the only one who can think that I am actually divine. So whatever is happening to me is actually for my own well-being. And that's where your understanding of all those experiences change, and you become more in charge of your emotional outcomes of those sufferings. So for example, if somebody slaps me, the outcome of that anger to take a revenge, it will be completely in my charge. And I might say to that person that in return, I'm not going to slap you, but I will give you a moment to think what else you want to harm me. Because you cannot harm me by in the physical way. You can harm me in the physical way, but you cannot harm my soul. The moment and if you start interacting with his soul at that point of time, you might find a different experience or different outcome altogether. So that emotional independence is what he says is the actually the should be the objective of any suffering. And once you target that independence of those emotions, you will see different dimensions of the truth altogether. I think we have covered most of the points. Now I will go about this is the last one, spiritual awakening. So many of our masters, we are already awakened, I would say to a great extent, and we are on the journey of getting at higher awakening. What Robert has said, throughout the life, we also plan a lot of experiences. And in that particular lifetime, if we plan that we want to be very close to the awakening side, you will always find the extreme kind of the experience come in your life, which means the contrast happens at its extreme. The result of that extreme is because you always go to the opposite side, which is always full of light, full of good virtues, and full of enlightenment. So that spiritual awakening happens at that point. Now he has further gone and said, this is not like the end state. It is still a going process, because you, as if in the physical body, you are working on evolving your soul or awakening your soul, but soul itself has in a very big journey of awakening to be and become one with the spirit or with the oneness. So that evolution process of the soul in terms of the spiritual awakening happens till eternity, or I would say it keeps going on. It stops at the point where we have completed the entire awakening in such a way that we are very much ready to merge with that spirit. What he says as well, that when you do yourself, your awaken, you actually, one person awaken in the family means the tendency would be the other family members will follow the same. And as you know, the family is the single unit in the entire world, community. So one family enlightenment is take to this next level of society enlightenment, and when the society is awakened, the entire nation is awakened, and then you can say the entire earth will be awakened. And that's exactly what he says in the book, that we are in the era where this whole awakening is happening at all levels, at a very mass level, actually. And the very first thing which starts this awakening process, what you require, you need to start loving yourself, which is called self-love. You need to believe, you need to trust your soul. That's the first thing which starts this awakening process. Now we come about the main chapters which he has covered in the books, and each and every chapter has been labeled with these kind of the experiences. So you can see here, he has covered topics like rape, incest, sexuality, mental illness, suicide, miscarriage, abusive relationship, caregiving. I don't think I will be covering each one of them, but what I'm going to cover is first thing why I actually read the book and which experience I wanted to explore more. And I might start with mental illness first. The reason I read this book, because one of my, in my personal family member was suffering from the mental illness. And that you can imagine that if one family member is not keeping well, what will be the state of the entire family? And that's exactly what we had. We were having, what I will do, I will just stop sharing the screen for a while because it might distract. So what happens when somebody who goes through this mental illness problem, it's not only that person who's going through this illness problem, it's actually the entire family members and all your close relatives or who are connected with the family, they also suffer and they also go through the kind of the experience which they believe that why I'm actually part of it. And that's very interesting question, which anybody can have at that point of time, that if somebody else is having a problem, why I'm actually part of that. And I was looking for the answer for this. And the problem is that sometimes you are very close to the person and sometimes you could be very remote to the person. So I was looking for answer for both of the scenario. And what I found in the book is that it explains, starts with the pre-birth planning process. So we have to look at the soul who is going through that experience. That experience we actually call in human terminology as suffering, but actually this is no more a suffering. It is actually a predefined path soul has taken to awaken itself, to understand that I'm actually beyond this limit. But the reason why when we feel this limit or being more powerful, only when we are powerless, because that desire of going inside yourself and finding your inner inner core only happens when you actually go to the extreme level. And mental illness is one of the things which in the medical terms we have defined that the person is not a normal, the person is not thinking in the normal way. So when I looked at the book and it talks about, so Robert has been interviewing a person who was suffering from mental illness. And in the end, what happens throughout the life, it goes through a number of therapies. So, psychological therapy, medical therapy, lots of different varieties of medical treatment, including like, naturopathy, yoga, and eventually that soul also comes into the role of meditation. And when the meditation happens, soul becomes more aware of, and soul knows that the purpose I wanted to achieve with this mental illness has pretty much achieved its purpose. And then the next dimension of the life starts, and the soul becomes completely a normal human being, and it becomes more caring and loving to those, especially who are suffering from that mental illness or similar kind of diseases. And that's where Roberts interviews that person and their life, and they openly share their family experience, their personal experiences, and the entire journey. And if you read that, if you go through that story, that gives me enough confidence that actually whatever is happening first of all for a very good purpose. And as a family member, we have the utmost duty to look at that person with love and with kindness and support in that journey, so that that journey which he or she is on must complete, and must complete with the most meaningful way. Now, how can you contribute and what sort of the mindset you require? That is another what we have to understand. And I think that exactly what the previous topics we covered when we were looking at resistance, judgment, understanding the karmic cycle, all that dimensions when you put together, you start looking that person, first of all, without any emotions. You just need to look at a person as a soul. Try to detach all your emotions with that person and think that a soul is on a journey like my soul. And that soul has got a very different experience they want to explore. They want to go down to the level where the brain, where the normal human activities stop working, and they want to experience in that state, does the divinity come and help them? Does their own soul, can that remember that you are actually as good, as divine as you were when you were before you were born? Now that understanding of that awareness is obviously, we don't know whether how the soul is experiencing, because we are looking at the physical level, we are not looking at the internal level. But once you start talking to that person at a soul level, the entire game changes, because you know that at a soul level I can interact, I can talk, and I can be part of the journey what I have been given the role. Now many times what happens, the role we get is actually not in a very good way. In a good way means we are given the most tough task. We are meant to give that person, create more difficult situation so that it becomes more problematic for that soul. But actually that's what has been decided by the soul, and that's what we both agree. So we understand, and we try to make ourselves out of that victim consciousness, that why I'm actually doing that thing for that person. And I think that's where the enlightenment comes. That's where the entire situation changes. And once the enlightenment happens with the person who is with that soul and the person who is already going through it, once that enlightenment happens, I think the new dimension of the family suffering starts. And it changes a lot of things. I might take a pause here, and I might ask anybody if you have any question, because this is one of the experience which I personally wanted to describe on this platform. Sandeep, I see there are a lot of chats coming. I'm not looking at them, but
Yes, Praveen. There are no questions on the chat. Like, Masters, do you have any questions? Please unmute yourself and feel free to ask your questions, please.
Okay. If there are no questions on the mental illness or anything related, all I would tell you that after reading this book, once I understand the dimensions of pre-birth planning as well as victim consciousness, I was able to take out full control on my emotions, and that led to me emotional independence for myself. And the same message I tried to give to the person who was going through it. And this changed the entire family environment. And I really feel in that journey, the Anapanasati meditation is actually that instrument which put us on the fast pace. So if you want to go to the fast pace of healing karmas, that's exactly what we do in our meditation, and we do that. The next experience which I might want to take, and I know I'm purposefully taking that one because in the society we live in, we already have got that as a very strong taboo, and nobody wants to talk about it, which is sexuality. What happens in that book, they have talked about a person who has identifying himself with both male and female sexuality. And it becomes very challenging for that soul to understand why in this human form, I'm not being accepted by the society. So this is where the whole issue of our being judgmental on the society norms comes into the play. And it's really very hard for that person or the soul to justify the existence in that form. And sometimes what happens, we as a human do not understand that what this soul is trying to experience. And we create those extreme situations for the soul where it can actually take up to the suicidal cases. And I'm not sure whether you have seen that statistics, but apparently the suicidal cases have been quite uprising even in the early ages. And the reason, and this is again another experience which this book has tried to explain, that why the suicide was decided in the pre-birth planning. And actually the answer is that suicide is never decided, but suicidal is just taken as a way that you immediately soul wants to change its presence from the physical body. It's just that you just decide that you don't want to continue in this world and you just want to change it. And what happens in that one? Yes, soul is successful in changing the physical body, and it immediately leaves and go to the next level. And that's where it gets guidance from what it needs to be doing next thing. But there is always a trauma which is attached with that suicide attempt. And that memory which we carry doesn't go away until we have completed or released that karma. So this is the interesting thing. The sexuality, or the people who identify themselves with the both sexes, why that thought, why that karma experience actually came into the place. And it's very important to understand. And I would relate here with our ancient wisdom, why people were so much conscious about thought process. Because the thought you give to yourself, that decides what type of the karma you want to try next or desire. So if somebody who has been working in some places where he found that nobody is loyal to your partner, nobody is loyal to their relationship, and they actually want to experience a different type of dimension where they want to see what happens when somebody is really become victim of that being disloyal. And as I said to you, the real soul wisdom comes when we start experience that instead of just looking at the opposite side. So many souls actually decide to take that form and see what happens when I really become, when I want to see both experience in the same body. Now that awareness of what I'm trying to do as a soul, as an experience level, may sometimes be in that soul, when even in the physical form, or may not be. Most of the times nobody has that awareness, because when we take birth, we just forget about the planning process. It's just that through that meditation channel or any kind of the spirituality awareness, we come to know the purpose of why actually we are doing that. So again, in that experience, that person who once he becomes aware of that, he decides that where he should be born or which society they want to take. And actually that person becomes a kind of a initiative to tell the society, to bring that light to the society that actually this is not wrong. You have to accept that this is a personal choice of someone, how they want to experience it. But to broaden that mindset, that soul actually decided to come into that form and brought that light to the society as an awareness. And now we see that so many laws are coming in the different countries to accept them as a natural human being, not like to discriminate them against the standard laws. So as I said to you, this again connects the dot that as a society, we are becoming more diverse, and as well as we are getting more acceptability, bringing more acceptance to all the diversities, to all the different thought processes. And the beauty of that, the more we accept the diversity, the better we are aligned to the oneness. That's exactly what I think is actually the purpose we are trying to achieve. So that's what I think we have narrated 2 stories about different type of healing. If there is anybody else who wants to ask any question on any particular type of experience, I am more than happy to take that one. I think the other experiences, if you just want to see, is here in the list. If there's no question, then I will ask one question on your behalf to myself. Is that why this healing always has to happen through the sufferings or through these experiences which are not taken in a more positive way in our sense? The answer is that actually it is not required. It's just that the previous era, when we were less ignorant, the souls actually decide to take the experiences based on that level of knowledge. Now, in this time, when we are becoming more and more aware and more knowledgeable, we can actually change completely the process, and we can try to learn new things not through the sufferings, but through the love and joy. And that's exactly what in the next thing he has talked about is called the new human. So the new human is actually is a new era where people don't have to go through suffering paradigm. You can still learn and complete your objective of being with the oneness out of having the love and joyful experiences. But for that maturity and that knowledge, I think the meditation is the way which is taking us towards that. Because when we meditate, our thoughts become more simpler, more purified, and more aligned to achieving that objective of awakening. So in that journey, automatically the sufferings patterns, they will change, and then we will still align to the more different patterns, which are more aligned to the higher level of awakening. So I think we have covered pretty much most part of this book. The last part, which was quite interesting, and I was hoping that somebody will ask me to cover, which was on animal or pets. What is their role or their purpose in our life? Why they coexist with the human form? And there were quite a striking enlightenment I got in that chapter. And something which I would like to mention here is about the dolphins and whales. So first of all, the book talks about, so the way Robert does in each and every story, he has always reached out to the angels, and all the wisdom which he has put in the books is coming directly from the angels by him putting the question. So he asked the question, who is the animal? Why, what is the animal soul? Why, where they come from? And the soul says that actually, like human, there is also an animal kingdom who have got lots of animal souls there. And the purpose of soul being coming in the animal form is actually to experience, you can say, Mother Nature from their animal eyes. So instead of coming as a human eye, we want to come in animal eye and get more closer to the Mother Nature, where we don't have to worry about dressing ourselves, or we don't have to worry about, living a longer life. So as you know, the animal life is very short, depending on which animal form you take. But so that's one thing. The second thing, when animal interacts with the human form, so that has to be a planet where that coexistence can be possible. So obviously now in the current time, human has taken over the entire planet, but there was a time when animals were more and humans were less. Even a human were able to cope up with the animals, and that's what happened. And there was one experience which we built where we actually started taming those animals and making them our own pet. And that experience is what he has tried to cover here, is that what is the role of the pet in one person's life. And I'm not sure whether you have seen that movie, but I was one of the movie where the pet actually incarnation is very much linked every time he becomes the pets of the same person in that same lifetime, which was quite enlightening as well. So actually we are able to connect with the animal soul when you make a person, when you make animal pet, and that soul is attached to you. And again, the purpose of that animal soul is to help you in your awakening. So many times you will find those who are lacking to express their love into the human form, they always go and get some pet and they start loving unconditionally and have that bonding with the pet. And that's true, because as a human nature, we need some mechanism. And that's exactly what the animal soul is providing, that mechanism to connect us. Besides that, even the animal souls have got different levels of soul awareness. So there are some animals who are very aggressive. They don't care about the other virtues. They only care about that I just want to satisfy my hunger. So whatever comes, I will eat it. So they don't care about other virtues. There are certain animals who are very loyal to the human, like dog. So they are very much caring, and they are keeping their desire less priority, and they are keeping their human priority as the first. And in that context, we can relate now that how animal incarnation is actually helping in the human soul journey. The next question, Robert also asked that, can as an animal we become human soul? The answer is yes. Animal can also take human soul, and the same way human can also take the animal soul. So both ways transition is possible. And again, it will depend on the objective. So sometimes suppose, I don't know, if you become so much affectionate to the pets and you really think that the dog is the best thing in the world, so you just want to experience that feeling of being a pet to someone and getting that love unconditionally. So you might decide to become, take form in that pet form. And again, and as I said, don't judge anything, because the moment we start judging, we are becoming victim consciousness. We should not judge anything. The soul doesn't judge. Soul has no ranking. Soul has no good and bad experience. Just that experience, and covering that entire circle is what the journey soul is on. There was very good mention about the dolphins and whales, and that's what I want to highlight here. It says that these two spatial creatures who are quite big in their size and they're quite highly intelligent, they did not come from, they never originated from Earth planet. They actually were inhabitant of different planet, and that planetary system, when it was coming to its end, the souls in that planet decided that these these creatures are so unique, they are so great creation, that they need to exist even beyond this planetary creation. So they were actually transported from that creation, from that planetary system to Earth planetary system, so that they can actually continue this species further on. And they also knew that they can coexist with the human form. Now, as you know, that the ocean is actually 2/3 of the water. Earth is actually covered with the water. So you can imagine the kind of the animal kingdom we have got, or the animals who are living in the water, is so large and so big that still we are exploring the ocean in terms of that. But it connects very well that, that the soul, any living being is actually having a soul, and that soul, because it is sparks of that divine, it's actually divine, and they all are having same connection, but they are having a different journey of experiences. So sometimes I've seen like people watching a movie where we see that the people are talking to whales or dolphins. Why is that possible, that a dolphin listens and connects? Because you really need that kind of the self-love where you can look at the animal as a soul. And when that happens, automatically that bonding happens, because that the emotions which you have attached because of the fear, anger, converts into the faith and love. And those divine virtues help you connect with the whole creation, each and every living being in the creation. And I think that's when happens, is the true enlightenment happens. And I think we just succeed in our journey further on. I think that's pretty much where I would like to keep myself, pause. And if anybody has any question or wants to discuss any further their own personal views, please ask.
Thank you, Praveen. There's a question from Priya Master. Priya, can you unmute yourself? And
It's Master. Yeah. Thank you. It's a wonderful narration of that beautiful book, and thanks for sharing such a wonderful knowledge. Hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Master. I got a question. You said talking to the soul will resolve most of the problems. Is there any experience that you can share with us, any practical experience that you come across that help us to understand and implement in our lives too? Thank you.
Priya, after reading this book, what happened, even my day-to-day activity has become soul talk. So every day I have got, now everything what I do, always I talk to soul first and then do that karma. Because in the book, it says, when you heed your heart, you are on the right track of what your soul has planned for. So once that awareness comes, you cannot just say that, okay, only for certain decisions I will go and talk to soul, and for certain activities I will not go talk because these are my routine tasks. No, you have to just become yourself so attentive and so conscious that you have to every time keep hearing yourself, keep talking and getting that message from yourself inside. Let me take a very simple, beautiful example, because we are connected with this book here. When Master Sandeep told me about this book, immediately when Master Sandeep said, I thought that I was looking for an answer, that I wanted to get some material which can talk about the negative aspect of the human life, not about the positive experiences. And I didn't know about this book. And immediately on that day, Master Sandeep got connected. We usually had a normal chat. And he said, there's a book If you want, you can try that. And I said, okay, I looked at the book and I immediately bought and I started reading it. The way I looked at that experience is that I gave a message. My soul said, yes, you will be told immediately. Soul connected with Sandeep, and somehow Sandeep got that message that yes, Praveen is looking for a book, and he gave me this idea. I read this book. The next thing what happens when I start reading the book, when I got so much, you can say kind of a wisdom from that book. Obviously, I have not gone through all the experience what the book has said, but some of the experience I have personally gone through. My dimensions of looking at those experiences become quite big. And that gave me a very good understanding that I am now in a position. If somebody asks me any difficult question, now I can explain that question by looking at those points which book has covered. And then a very small desire came in my mind. Okay, what if you are given a chance to explain this book? At that point, we didn't have this book club. But then when and immediately within few days, Sandeep again told me that we are starting this book club and you should join this. And, we are going to keep a library. People can read the books and share. And I said, Sandeep, this is a wonderful initiative because this is something I have been thinking that something like this should happen. And that's immediately manifested. Now that journey started of reading the book. I never knew that I will be given a chance, but again, this chance came to me. And again, as I said, I am very thankful for this experience because this is my first experience where I'm through this platform. I'm talking to a kind of wider or enlightened masters and sharing my own perception of my spiritual learning and understanding. So this is something, as I said to you, once you become aware of your soul, there is no way you can detach yourself because you are bound to give the message each and every time. And if you are a little bit listening to your heart, I would say start talking to your heart more and more. Does that answer? Yeah.
Yes, Master. I think, we have to sometimes to understand the wisdom, we have to work on the basics. So yes, I think this baseline should be the starting point. I will, how do you practice? Like once you woke up in the morning, how do you,
Priya,
like at what point of time you remind yourself? Yeah.
Priya, you must be knowing that some of our masters are learning meditation in the sleep. So they are turning their sleep into meditation. And as I said to you, that there is no recipe for it. The only recipe you have to plan by your own soul. So your soul will decide. One thing I will tell you recently I had was have you heard the word about called intuition? So those who have got the very strong intuition, I would say their soul is so awakened that they get reminder immediately. It's like an alarm clock that they get the reminder that, listen, I'm telling you, this is going to happen. Now, there are always a choice attached to it. Either you listen to it or you just ignore. If you listen to it, the chances are that you might still have that experience, but you will be able to cope up that experience very beautifully. If you ignore it, what will happen? That incidents will happen because you are not prepared. You might have some another karmas or another experience coming out of it, which you would have avoided if you would have listened that. I will tell you that, in fact, this was a very recent one. I got a car from my friend and I went for filling that car. And this car, actually, I took the license insurance, but he gave me car to drive for a few weeks because he was not in the country. And he said that you take the delivery, drive the car. If there's any problem, we can immediately tell the seller. I said, okay, I agreed to it. And I took the license and I started driving. And I went for the filling the fuel. When I opened the fuel, it says diesel. Actually, the car having the petrol engine. Because I read the diesel, I said it has to be diesel then. In my mind, my soul said immediately, you are going to experience today a breakdown because of the wrong fuel filling. And then I said, is it really? Okay, if it happens, then let me experience because I've never experienced what happens when the breakdown happens. Then I called Master Sandeep and I talked about the car model, everything. But I didn't talk about, I asked him this question that can this model have diesel and petrol both? And he said, yes, it can have diesel and petrol both. So I said, okay, when it says diesel, it could be diesel. And I tried to put that nozzle in. Nozzle is not going in because the diesel car has a slightly bigger nozzle and the petrol has a smaller nozzle. But I still somehow managed to put the fuel in that, knowing inside my soul telling me, you are going to enjoy this. Continuously it is telling me. I filled the car, I drove the car, and within 5 minutes it stopped. The beauty of that one, when it happened and I knew that this is going to happen, I told my soul, okay, you have planned it, but please plan it properly so that I get a nice place to park it. Now see what happens. I got a place to park right next to my roadside. My two kids were here, were with me, and we finished the Kumon classes. We all of a sudden have got the three persons have got the bathroom desired now. We want to go to the loo immediately in that second. So I said, okay, very good experience. Car is broken down. Drain has started. All of a sudden the pour is started. So we can't literally come out from the car. And now my kids are saying, I want to go. And in fact, I'm getting the desire to go loo. So I said, what to do? So I again asked my soul, you have planned everything that I should be feeling this chaos. Now tell me, what is the next in this chaos? Can I go and knock somewhere and then I can go for long? So my son says, Dad, why don't we go and knock anybody's door? Now in that road, everybody has got very big houses. So in fact, you literally have to walk at least 50 steps before you can reach to their door, because they've got such a big garden and everything. And I said, I don't know. So then I prayed again to my soul. I said, please connect some soul who can help and with this situation, because I cannot allow my kids to pee in the road, because that would be very embarrassing for both of them and they might not do it. Because I knew as a yoga person that we should not hold our natural desire for longer, because that creates another long disease. But because you know all these things, then you have to plan accordingly. And all of a sudden, I just saw the first door and I knock it. The lady who was somewhere in the house, there was no buzzer or anything. Somehow she appeared and she's from the far side. She says, what happened? I said, I've got two kids and I'm shouting. She said, yeah, come in. The door she opened and we went in. We all had the loo and everything. And then I asked that my battery is discharged. She gave me the phone to discharge and everything. And then she said, you calm down, don't worry. If you want anything else, we can arrange. I said, no, my friend is coming to pick me up. And then I arranged everything. And I came home and I told Sarika that, see, I got so strong intuition that I'm going to experience. And I experienced this. I had no anger to vent on my family, because usually sometimes when it doesn't go in with you, you just start putting your anger to something else. And one personal experience, I would say, in this journey of meditation, when it started, I have started witnessing my anger myself. And when that anger happens, I first of all give a very good smile that, okay, you have come again to experience myself. Let's experience. And what happens? It starts calm down immediately. That separation happens in a very natural way. And that is very important, because if that separation has to happen naturally. If I don't happen natural way, then remember that karma will keep happening in the same pattern again and again. So to break that cycle, when we know the recipe, how to break it, the recipe is that accept and love it. If you accept your anger and self-love it, I know it looks very weird, because people say, what the hell is talking? He's talking about that he's angry and he's still saying that, no, I'm doing right thing. Yes, but that tendency of that pattern will automatically start changing. And I will wait for that time when my family says, yes, you have become completely 100% anger free. So I will wait for that time.
Yeah, it's a thanks for sharing that experience, because I think this will be there in our subconscious mind. So now we can start thinking like, okay, yes. Actually, that's a very good example, like how we can connect with our soul during that panic moment. And thank you. And as you said, anger is also one of the emotions, but until we have it, we don't need to be like completely 100% free. I don't know whether we can be, but we should be able to like manage it and handle it in a beautiful way, where we want that anger to get that some task done. We have to be able to
because of the
that
fear.
kind of
Anger comes because of the fear. Now, if you look at your anger, why you are getting angry? Because something is not going against you. But actually, why you are not able to accept it? Because you have a fear of that if this happens, I won't accept it. So when that fear you look at, then you will say, why I'm fearing? Because I am the same as any other person. You have to work on that fear part. And that fear, once goes away, the reason why anger is happening automatically go away.
Okay, so that the task will get
correct. I will take another experience in the pandemic. Some of my very close friends have lost their parents because this tragedy happened with worldwide. Now, having a situation where you are not able to attend funeral of your own parents is a very mental challenging condition. If you look at, then I looked at what is the positive side of it, because after reading this book, every negative experience I look at as what is the positive thing. Positive thing means what it is trying to teach us. Have I taken that learning properly or not? So that thing, when I looked at why you were not able to attend the parents' funeral, because the free birth planning process said, yes, you will be my son, but you will not be able to come and attend. Now, that could be a variety of reasons why I agreed that agreement, because I wanted to give you that experience of that what happens when you're not able to attend your parent. Now, you can take in two ways. Oh, I was so unfortunate. No, you should never say that. You should say you are fortunate that you have experienced this. So next time you are better prepared if that next karma comes when with the new parents. So you should accept that gracefully that, okay, now I feel how it feels that when my parents, I could not see them and they were, having their last time and I was not standing with them. Let's think in this way that they're also their own soul cycle. They also planned something for their own self as well. But that understanding will come when you detach them as a parents. If you look them as an emotional connection, you will not be able to understand this knowledge at all. You have to first detach themselves and look them. A person who is a 70 or 80-year-old has completed, enjoyed his life, has got his all the liabilities, responsibility very well covered. That soul has beautifully reaching to its end point. For some reason, divinity has decided that the cause will be because of the medical reason. That's why soul is now liberating and enjoying for the next incarnation. Let me have a very beautiful conversation with that departing soul that, hey, whatever I could do. Whatever I could not do, maybe I will get another opportunity to serve you better. If you give this kind of the positive vibration, the end of that soul, departing soul, will go with a very different vibrations. Now, this is another thing. We all are nothing but the vibrations. That energy which we have got, every time when we think, the thought, the karma, they all are affecting that vibration energy. If we are giving a lower kind of vibration, which is like anger, fear, we will be surrounded by that kind of the vibration energy. We will never be able to uplift ourselves and go to the next level of high vibration. If we want to go to that high vibration, we need to give positive energy. Even in the utmost despair situation, we have to look out what is the best it is coming from it. The best is that I'm actually going to learn something new, which my soul has always wanted. Now, what this is the golden opportunity I have got. Let me absorb it completely so that I don't repeat this cycle again. That's what I would say we have to be prepared for. And I think the meditation help us to build that mindset so we can become more acceptable.
Yes, sir. True, true. That's a beautiful explanation. Thanks a lot for sharing your wisdom. Wonderful. Thank you.
Praveen, there's a question from Meena Master. Meena, can you unmute yourself and ask? Please?
Yeah. Thank you, Sandip ji. It's a wonderful, wonderful session and mind-blowing. Actually, I have read only one book from this author. It's The Soul Plan, but I haven't I got this book in the library, but I haven't gone through. And both are interconnected, these books. But yeah, Master, I have a very interesting question. I have many friends who don't believe in karma. If you believe in karma and you obviously believe in your pre-birth planning or your soul's plan, everything. But people, and also they have their mentally retarded people at home and disabled kids, or they're suffering a lot. Obviously they won't believe in karma. There's Christians and some other atheists and all friends. How do I explain? If you believe in karma, we take it lightly. Okay, this I planned for all these lessons. But for them, they don't believe in anything. Then how do I make them feel less like pain? You can't is inevitable, right? Suffering is optional, that we say, but they don't trust all these or not believe this process. How to make them less miserable? Can you please explain?
So there are two things, Meena. You have to understand first what is your role you want to take to influence their soul plan. That is the first question you have to ask yourself. So I can understand you are trying to become kind, you are doing a service for others, because as a soul we all are connected, we all are siblings, and the true nature of the soul is to help others. This is the fundamental principle, which is good. So you are trying to help others, but in that helping other process, you also have to accept one thing, that they have already decided to experience something which is very courageous. So they are, as you said, they are having a mental or disability, and that courage is why they are able to do it properly, because they actually don't believe in this karma theory. Because the moment maybe they are not ready at this stage, if they start believing, it should not happen that they start not doing their responsibility properly. Let's look at this way. So there's always a two side of things, right? If somebody is doing something without believing something, still he's believing something because he's not believing something, but he's doing his work properly. So that is first thing. The second thing comes, if he once he becomes ready to believe something which he was not believing earlier, why would he be ready to believe? Because that stage will say now he has to accept, or he's close to complete that karma, and probably he wants to go for another experience. So you will have to accept, even after you telling them and you are not changing, don't do that, because in their whole soul journey, they must have planned at what point Meena will come and actually influence us, which we would have actually accepted her or listened to her previously, because their journey, they still have not experienced that completely. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that you can always talk to their soul level, which you should try to do that. So you have so far done the physical level way, try to do it in soul level, which means you should, if you are really want to go and influence, again, this is something which I would say that you are very much concerned for them and you really want to, because usually that emotions comes for the family members. And if you treat them as a family, you can always go and talk to them as a soul level. So you just think, I'm talking to that soul. Hey soul, you have really beautifully, courageously planned to help your child who's in disability. Let's do this responsibility with more humbleness, with more faithful, and with more love. The reason why I'm suggesting, because that will have a profound healing aspect in your current life, and there is a possibility that the disability caregiving you are doing, you might be discharged from that caregiving and you might be having a different aspect of your life. If you really want to do that in this lifetime, then please accept that path. Otherwise, I believe, I trust you, I respect you with everything that you have decided to do this entire life, which is absolutely fine. And let's do this with the way, that same one. So what I'm trying to say to you is that we should not try to influence somebody such a way that we try to become the owner of the outcome. This is where the challenge is. We should just do it and leave it. If really that has to be the outcome, it will eventually happen. Does that answer you, Meena? Or you want to go
Sure,
more in detail?
sure. Sure, very well said.
Because
I'll do that.
I tell you, this is what happens with our parents as well, because they have reached to the age where they don't want to listen. They have become already up to a certain age, and you find yourself very guilty of that. Oh, this is something I know is clearly wrong and they can avoid, but they don't do it. They still do it. So the only way I have decided to come out from that, that guilt feeling that actually I was this and I could have avoided. Actually, there should not be any guilt feeling, because the guilt feeling is the victim consciousness. And I will not let myself become the victim consciousness. And nobody should do that for that matter, because every soul is having its own unique experience in their unique journey. All we have to do is to respect and look at each other with kindness and love. If we do that part, you will enjoy this experience more beautifully than anybody else. Even in the best worst to worst situation, you will say, if I'm attending a funeral, that is one of the best experiences. As you said, that we are just changing the body. People are looking at the funeral as like this is something now has become the truth, but actually there's no truth. The truth is that soul is the truth. Truth is not our physical body. So once that understanding has come in ourselves, then why we are living to the mercy of others? We need to be control of our emotions and we need to enjoy everything and don't let ourselves victim consciousness.
Yes, wonderfully answered. And after I read this book, obviously I read only the soul's plan. My way of thinking of when suppose my mom comes and says, oh, I suffered this one time in my life, in my childhood I did this, I undergone a lot of childhood experiences, I suffered these panics. And she used to explain all that, I used to like sit and cry along with her. I used to say, okay, yeah, we undergone all these and all. But now when she starts going there back and explaining me, I started telling her, oh, this is all you planned, this is all in your karma path, and I'm not in I'm not traveling with her along with her emotions. I came out and also I'm able to explain her like this is what you have planned and you have experienced. Now it has become to the end and now you will travel to the another life and all. I'm able to explain. Obviously she's not taking that in, but I came out of that loop of sitting and crying.
Very true. So that's, I think you have mastered your emotional independence. Exactly, that's what we should try to do.
Thank you for bringing this beautiful book and this beautiful session.
No, I think
wonderful
definitely.
Wisdom. Thank you. You should come up with more. We want to listen more from you, actually. More books. Please read more books.
That's what my next
come
question
up to the
Praveen.
book club.
Yes, that's what my next question, which is the next book that we have.
Please read more books and come up to the book club. Thank you, Sandeep Master, for bringing this master in for the book club as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Praveen, there's one more question coming from
sure.
Sri Marani. Maheshwari, can you unmute yourself and ask the question, please?
Sure, Sandeep Garu. And Namaste, Praveenji. I've seen you for the first time, and it was a beautiful, beautiful session. And I joined midway, so I probably missed half of it due to some other reasons. And I had the privilege to meet Dr. Robert Schwarz. I think some of us in this session have as part of the DMS event, and one of the most humbling guys. And I still have the notes of the session he took on that day. And I've read the first book, but I haven't read this one. So thank you again to go back on that journey with Rob, and the way you presented it was beautiful. Thank you so much for.
I mean, I'm really blessed that you won't believe that I was just thanking Robert's soul so many times, that he has done such a wonderful angelic work by writing this book. And you have met Robert, which means somehow the Rob has passed me message that yes, I've done this work to my best capability. So I really take this as a blessing. Thank you very much, sir. Sandeep, is there?
Oh, sorry. I think I was speaking on mute. Sorry. No, I haven't met him physically, but it was over a virtual session that a few of our DMS members have been on that session together. So my question, Praveenji, is around, I understand that the soul has a plan before the birth, and it has a journey it wants to take that individual through. But on the other hand, through meditation, we also believe that we are the creator of our own destiny, and we believe in the quantum physics and all that. So how does that, how in your take, how do you think that would relate to a plan that the soul has? But can we change that plan through our own wish or will, or?
101% say so. Basically, whatever we have learned from this book is actually 100% confirming whatever previously we have learned from our other spiritual knowledges. So pre-birth planning is one thing, because soul has, so first of all, you have to think that you yourself, whatever you're doing, is everything what you're doing is actually the soul. So soul is nothing different from us. So let's take that for a moment. And if you decided as a soul, which means you yourself have decided that I will incarnate in this form, I will have those experiences. Now, you must have decided that because of certain XYZ reasons. So you had certain objectives, which you didn't finish last time, and that's now you want to complete now. So when you come here, there are multiple options, the world gives us, or the cosmic power gives us. So you can choose whichever one. So that choice is always your free will. And in that free will, you are also given a choice what next you want to experience. And from one experiences, you can create multiple different experiences. So let me take this a very simple story here. When we studied, right? So everybody studies in the engineering college, for example, and everybody becomes engineer. So that's one, everybody studied the same level. But once they come into the world, somebody becomes proper engineer, somebody becomes mechanical, somebody goes in the IT, somebody becomes some other place, somebody doesn't do at all anything related to the engineering, they do their father's business. Now what happened here? So everybody has gone as per their fair choices, and those choices were available to everyone. So if you look at anybody who has graduated can either decide to be a salary person, can either decide to be an entrepreneur, can either decide to be a social worker, can either decide to be not do anything, just go in my own self journey and become a monk or something like that. Nobody can say that these choices are not available to anybody else. This choice is available to everyone else. The question is what you decide. And that decision is very much driven by what your soul previously decided. But your soul doesn't decide which choice you will take. Soul decides the experiences you will take. Now, let me add further. Now, suppose your soul decided certain experiences and you decided that I will go and become a monk. Now, becoming a monk means you think that, oh, I will not have to do anything with the worldly matters. But your experience which were pending was that you were supposed to experience, let's say, prison. You were supposed to go in a prison. That was the experience you decided as a soul. Now you became a monk. Now, can you tell me becoming a monk that will have anything to do with the prison? looks like no, there's no chance. Nobody can go to the prison after becoming monk. But I'm sure you know from so many stories, people who become monk, they still go and live their life in prison because their soul experience was decided that way. So you decided different choice, but actually you still have to go through the experience. So there is no way that you can get rid of that previous backlog which you had already had. You still have to do whatever choice you take. That backlog is always there with you. The only thing which you can influence is actually how I want to take that backlog and how I want to do it. So obviously with Anapanasati, we try to witness our breath, and that breathing patterns decides, uh, a lot of thoughts, and those thought itself goes and looks at the underlying reasons why I decided to be the prison life. And when you identify that root cause, if you have really become that much aware, you will find that the underlying cause actually has now resolved. So the chances are that you will not go to the prison, or even if you go to the prison, it might be for a very certain small duration. So initially it was looking for a very long journey. That long experience has been curtailed down because of your awareness of your enlightenment. So the more you become aware, the more your enlightenment you become, your future experiences start becoming smaller, smaller, smaller. And that's where the concept comes, the point where you become master of your own, because you don't have much to experience, so you can decide new experiences. And that's where, when you said that the quantum physics and we want to say we are the creator of ourselves. Yes, we are the creator of ourselves, because once we complete our backlog, we can create a new backlog. But those completion of those previous backlogs are very, very much important to be considered. And if you can decide to work them on consciously or unconsciously. If you decide to work consciously, then you are clearing your backlogs more easily and more graceful manner. If you don't decide to do them unconsciously, you still are going to experience something new, which you have decided as a master, but those backlogs will come and influence this journey every time. That's what I think I have understood so far.
Amazing. No, thank you. I think that makes so much sense. And as you said, the choices are in our hands, but the experience are still to be lived, or the learnings from the experiences are still to be attained. So
correct.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Praveen, before we close our session, we'll take the final question from Jaswinder. Master.
Namaste, Praveenji. It was my first book session that I've attended, an amazing session, really enjoyed. And I've about a year back during pandemic, I've come into meditation. And one thing that nags me all the time is, like you've talked about, parents not listening, but with me, it's the other way around, the younger generation not listening. And even though we have got more experience, and then they think they want to experience the life they want and make their own decisions. But sometimes it creates a lot of, you get that feeling that you've not done something right. Why aren't they following the path that you know is good? How do you deal with that? Is that how to remove the negativity in that relationship? That's what troubles.
So Jaswinder, I will definitely thank you for asking this beautiful question on behalf of all the married person who have got the kids.
Yeah.
Right. And I must tell you from my personal experience how I have dealt with this situation. So when I read this book, I understood that every time whenever I get anger, so I started looking at my anger, and most of the times, as you said, younger generation don't listen to us. They want to do their own experiences, and we know the outcome of them. Then I thought, okay, that's why my anger is coming. But behind any anger, there is a fear. What is the fear? So our fear is that if my son or my daughter don't listen to me, they will not become what I really want them to be. Is that true? I think to a great extent, yes. So the fear is that I see something which is going wrong with my immediate loved one. Okay, why is that fear? Because I think they are my loved one. Okay, what else? What is the real cause of that fear? I think the real cause of the fear is that we somewhere think that we are also creator of our loved one. We are also creator of that soul. We are also creator of that younger generation as well. It's absolutely, utterly, if you really ask me, nonsense. Why? Because the book says, or the angel or the previous ancient wisdom says, every soul it comes from the same divine source. So that means my kids, they are also coming from the same divine source. Can I trust that fact? Yes, I have to, because as I was born as a kid, same way my kids are born. The only thing is that they decided to come through me. They decided to be part of my life. And actually, I've also agreed with them to be their parents. So both agreement has taken place. So that means they also are, first of all, I have to respect that they are a soul. First of all, that's the basic fundamental. If I expect them, if I believe or if I have a faith that they are a soul, that means my fear of having them or thinking that they are my own creator should go away, because they are not my creator. They are actually, they themselves are a creator. They themselves are a creation of their own soul. That is the first thing. Once that understanding comes, then the question comes, I should not have the fear. If I don't have the fear, my conversation should not result into anger. That is the first thing. Second thing, obviously, as a parent, I have a role to play in their life, and I am supposed to tell them the right path, which we always think as a parent. What happens in giving that right path to them, we take it so personally, so judgmental, and we almost becomes like a victim consciousness. So I will tell you, the parents who are struggling that my kids are not listening, we ourselves has labeled ourselves as a victim consciousness. Why? Because we think, we think that we are giving the right path. We have to understand one thing. The conversation which I'm having with them, I'm doing at two levels. First, at the physical level. So yes, you talk to your kid and kid responds to you. The second conversation, which we never happen, and the only time mother happens, mother has that conversation when the baby is in the pregnancy, in the womb. That time, that real conversation, soul to soul happens. In fact, dad can also do because of the physical proximity. But after they are born, we just forget that conversation. We never talk to our kids' soul. We always talk to them in physical manner. Can I ask why? And I think that's where the answer is. Because if you start talking to their soul, and just as I said to you, in a more friendly manner, hey, you decided to be my son. Maybe last time I was your son. That should be the first conversation. So at that time, when I was your son or daughter, you must have done something to me for which now I'm going to take revenge from you. So you have to talk in this way, which means when I was the son of that soul who has become my son now this time, I must have done something to irritate my parents. You have to accept that truth. And that is the same thing now they are going to repeat with me, because now they have got that opportunity to irritate me by becoming my son and daughter. Now, what we want to resist that experience. We want to say, no, don't give me that irritating experience, because I am your father. You have to listen to me and you have to follow me. Don't give me any excuse for that. We have to understand the same karmic cycle which we want to apply applies in our relationship first of all. That starts from the family itself. Forget about your friends, relatives, society, and the world and the nation. You are living with a group of the people who have already in a very close interwoven karmic cycle. We have got so many experience together that there is no way to come out from that. You can decide to not to talk to your friend. You can decide not to visit any country. You can decide to close so many doors, but you cannot close your doors with your family loved ones, because they are not only blood relationship. It's more beyond the blood. It's more at the soul level. You have so interwoven, and there are so many experiences you have to unwind yourself. So the very first unwind we should do with our family member, and the one which is the most closest to one, and also the one who is giving you the most trouble. So you have to remember two things. The person who is our most lovable one, they actually hurt us most. That's why we must thank to that person who is giving us that experience. So start giving thanks to every experiences your son and daughter are giving, because the moment you start accepting and gracefully accepting that, you will find that tendency, the hypertension tendency of giving that experiences will start weakening further down. And if you start talking to their soul level and say to them, okay, boss, I did something wrong with you. I know you have come with the same agony, but let me tell you, I love you without any of those things. I just gracefully accept you and I love you. If you give that message invisibly to their soul, take my words, Jaswinder ji, the miracle will happen in your relationship. you will come and say thank to me that, yes, Praveenji, that miracle has happened because when I started talking that soul. Now, it will not happen immediately if you go and tell one word and it will happen. No, it will take some time. In the same way as we are doing the meditation, we are doing Anapanasati, we are witnessing ourselves. It takes some days, some years, some months, and for some people it takes lifetime because there's so much we have created the backlog. So until that happens, you have to wait and you have to keep patience. But please, my advice to you, don't feel yourself victim consciousness at all. Just think as you are as beautiful as your kids, and your kids are also as much as beautiful as you are. There is nothing wrong and bad happening in our relationship. Relationship with your kids are as beautiful as it should be. It's just that superficial level, you have created that emotions attachment. And if you remove those emotions and then you connect, you will find a very different experience on.
Okay. You answered that very beautifully. I will try that. Thank you so much, Praveenji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Praveen. Once again, I have some questions on the chat. So, some appreciations from Jyoti to you. Thank you very much. And Bharati ji, again, many thanks to you. Again, Dilpreet Kaur, again, thank you so much for sharing wonderful wisdom. And Kula sir, thank you for wonderful session and great answers. And Swati ji, again, thank you, wonderful knowledge sharing sessions. And a couple of from Meera ji. Can you explain what is quantum physics, master, please?
Quantum physics. Meera ji, I think I'm not a science or physics student. The only way I would say, it is a name which has been given by our scientist. And human form, we have to give name to something because human mind always requires the naming convention to address things, which is right because this is the matter manifestation. So manifestation does require a name. If you really want to understand the real world, you have to come out of all these naming conventions and just purely think about yourself as a soul and think about the world which is beyond what we see right now. So I think quantum physics is trying to address those worlds. And I am pretty sure at some point human intelligence or awareness will become so strong that we will start visualizing and start interacting with that angels and with those souls in a way as Robert has been doing through his mediums and channels and his book. So I think quantum physics is something which is, again, as I said to you, a name which is part of the science which is trying to explore this world in a way that the materialistic laws or the things which we see in the normal way doesn't work. And I must tell you that the bigger world which is there outside has actually got more higher capability to decide what is happening in this ground level. So if anybody says, this is the east, this is the west, this is south and east, yes, we have given the names to these direction, but the upper world has no limit, has no direction, has no time. So everything is free and freely created, and whatever they create is for our experiences here. Many times Robert has said that Earth is like a school. So we come here to take the experiences, and in one of the experiences we want to take is just to feel how powerful we are, how grateful we are, and how divine we are. And that happens only when we have completely experienced everything, whatever we desired initially. And that is something awareness comes when you do more and more meditation.
And to continue, thank you, Praveenji. And to continue, Arun said thank you to you again. And Rajshekhar has raised his hand. I'll just unmute in a minute. And Sri Marini said beautiful again. And Jyoti, the wonderful answer. Sri Mani again said thank you very much, Praveenji, for such an enlightenment discussion. And Jaswinder, beautiful session. And Binduji again, thank you for a wonderful session. And Master Ravi, amazing session. Thank you so much. Rajshekhar, wonderful session, and happy to listen to your experience. So that's all from the chat side. And Meeraji again, thank you. And one final question from Rajshekhar. Rajshekhar, can you unmute yourself? And
Hi, Sandeep. Thank you for moderating today. So and advising Praveen ji to happen this session, and his experiences are so transformational. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So my question is around mental illness. you express that you have gone through some family member as struggling. So I won't take time here, but we have passed lots of time. So I'll take your contact and talk to you because one of my wider family member is also going through. So we know how the suffering will be family level, and being a spiritual seeker and master, so we always try to transform others, right? So what are the techniques which we can use, those sort of things, maybe
Definitely,
we can discuss.
definitely, definitely, Darshika. Definitely, we can connect, and I can help whatever my experience has been. I will definitely share.
Thank you. So nice to see you.
Thank you. Same here.
Okay, Fritz.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sandeepji,
Thank you.
one more last, Sandeepji. Can you tell more
Okay.
about Praveenji? Actually, we haven't heard about how we got connected to him on this beautiful platform.
So I think we should all thank to our Grandmaster Patriji, who is giving continuously message to the universe to connect like-minded people and those who are already in the path of awareness. And I think my experience with Sandeep has been because Sandeep initially said we worked together in the company. The first day Sandeep came in my office, and because I was already working in the same office, so it was new for him. And I think the very first day we connected, that connection on the very first day is the same connection, same bonding we still share today. And I think over a period of time, we both have learned a lot of things together, and we share our experiences. And I know Sandeep has been looking at, always different experiences to share, and that's what I used to do with him. So, and I also used to listen to his experiences. And until the point Sandeep got into this Anapanasati, I actually had the chance to learn this Anapanasati even before Sandeep came in. But as you said, we all have our destiny decided. So my personal, I would say that from a very old age, my grandfather used to take me to the satsang. So I used to go all the religious places with him. And probably that's where I think he put some seeds to keep this curiosity always going on. And I always used to think that we struggle so much in our day-to-day life and, trying to build our career and studies and all that. There has to be something which can give us immense power to experience all of that beautifully. So that's where I thought that, where is that knowledge coming from? That definitely not coming from school, but from college. That's coming only from one area, which is all these spiritual branches, which are talking about that you can take control of your life, you can experience much beautifully. So what I decided that I started to, whenever I used to get opportunity, I used to go to and read some other spiritual branches, take the name, most of the branches which I know are highly regarded in the worldwide. I have pretty much experienced most of them in terms of what they are actually trying to teach and all that thing. But one thing I realized that teaching and listening is one thing, but until you experience, you don't know exactly how, where are you and what you want to do next. And I think once Sandeep told me about that, we want to start a Scotland branch of PMC and all that, I said, yes, this is great because we really need that meditation happening. And when something happens near to you, you always get that reminder. And I think that's where you get put in the motion. And I must say that Corona, I know people are saying this is a pandemic, this is a big disease and all that. I will tell you the beautiful aspect of Corona is that it has actually asked everybody to look in themselves. The Corona has created those situations where it stopped the whole world and said, hey guys, can you just look at what you are doing? And that introspection has made so many people become insightful about what they should be doing in their life. And many people have actually gone in the path of learning yoga or learning meditation and spiritual. And I think this mass level awareness which is happening, I think our Grandmaster Patriji has already said that in the next 5 years it's going to be huge transformation. And I can see that all the scenarios and all the situations which are coming up, the outcome, the result of all these sufferings is only one: the better and better and better and better life and better and better happiness, and the more beautiful days to come forward. That's what I could say. I'm a very positive person in every aspect, so that's how I did it. But I know people who are suffering, they will be thinking what Praveen is talking is that we are sufferers and we know what happened. I can only say to you that many of those sufferings I have also personally felt. But what I have seen, those sufferings came for some purpose. If they the purpose of that suffering will be only successful if we learn from that. If we don't learn, then we have defeated two things. That moment which came that didn't get to succeed, it will come again. And the second is we didn't learn and we didn't increase our awareness. If that doesn't happen, I think we all have to be, and this is where I think as a group, as a masters, we all are, when we're doing group meditation, we are becoming transformational agent, because we are invisibly forcing so many people to become part of this journey and come and join this as a mass level. And when this happens, the whole planet and everything will change, and we will be experiencing very good world. So that's what I would say. I don't know. When I talk, I just go in different rhythms. So please, I have to hold myself. So
thank you.
Thank you,
Master. Thank you
for a wonderful message concluding this session. Thank you. As many of us said, like we would like to see you again in the near future in the book club. So we are very delighted to have you here today, and thank you very much for your wonderful time and a wonderful explanation about the book. Thank you from all of us once again, and great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, PMC, and thanks everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
all. Thank you, masters.